Hey guys, what's going on? Thanks for watching. So here today, we're going to do a short little project. I think it's going to be short. I've never done it before. I've seen it done before, but I've never personally done it. But it seems very simple, okay? What we're going to be doing is installing one of these little screws, these little set screw things, onto the back of my lower, okay? The back here. It's going to basically relieve the necessity for this end plate to hold in the spring, which holds in the pin, which is the retaining pin for the takedown pin, okay? If that makes any sense. Hopefully you followed me there. So basically what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to it's already drilled, obviously, because there's a hole, but we're going to have to tap a hole down here where that spring goes and, not replace, but screw in one of these retaining screws to hold in that spring, okay? Because a lot of the times, in people that build ARs and stuff, one of the things of that you always got to watch out for, and you just got to be careful, is when you're installing the takedown pins, both the front and the rear takedown pins, these guys here, front and the rear takedown pins, when you install them, a lot of times, especially the front one, they're hard to, it's just tricky trying to get the pins in there. And the spring, it's under tension. You got to hold it in with your thumbnail or a screwdriver or a razor blade, or they make special tools for it. All right, the rear one is easier than the front one, okay? But in general, it's held in with this rear plate, okay? And if it's held in with a screw instead of the rear plate, then you can just swap this stuff out and not have to worry about that spring falling out. I've jibber-jabbered long enough. That was incredibly long, 1 minute and 45 seconds. Okay, we're gonna get to this and walk through it, and I think it'd be pretty fun. Alright, so now you can see me a little bit better. Well, basically, first thing we got to do is take off this little guy, which, this is pretty cool. I've talked about this in another video. It's pretty stinking cool. It was like 20 bucks. And it's made in the USA. Doesn't have any other name on it. It's pretty slick, okay? So this guy is on here. We're going to go ahead and take off our castle nut. Well, I'm going to take it off without, whoops, see, we don't want to do that. Oh, because I modified this one for a different project. I'm going to use one that's not modified. There we go. That is better. Okay. Before we get too far along, I'm going to take out the buffer. If I can get that pin down, there we go. Can help relieve tension, okay? And as you can see, hopefully, right down here, I'll try to zoom in on it. This is our little spring, and a little devil that we got to deal with here, okay? So we're going to go ahead and take that out, that little spring, set that aside. We're going to unscrew the buffer, make sure we capture this the buffer retaining pin and spring. They'll pop out at you if you don't be careful. We're going to unscrew this guy. Okay, set him aside. And I'm going to go ahead and down in here there's a pin, the retaining pin. There we go. That little guy. You don't want to lose him. Very small. But that is the retaining pin for your rear takedown pin, okay? So now this is open. Basically all we're doing is tapping that hole and screwing in a screw. Should be pretty simple, okay? Should be, but I've never done it. It's always something, okay? So we're gonna open this guy. I just got these off Amazon. I'll put the links down there for y'all if anybody else wants to try these things. Like I've said before, I've seen this done in other videos, and it just seems like it's a luxury upgrade. That's all it is. I don't know as it being much of a necessity. Like you do this and it's not going to make the gun perform any different. You know, it's just going to be a little bit nicer if you're changing out your stock. You know, your buffer. It's just going to be a little bit nicer. That's all it is. And they're relatively cheap. I'll put in a price of how much everything was, but these guys are only like a couple bucks for 6 of them. And then these weren't really that bad either. I can't remember exactly what they were, but they weren't that bad. And we only got to screw it in or thread it in a little bit. So I'm going to use just a little bit of cutting oil. Whoop. Probably too much. All right. You just need a little bit. A little dab will do you. That's what my dad used to say. Probably still does. Okay, and so we're just going to thread this in a little bit. Just kind of get it started. And I'm sure you can get it on like a drill press or something to make sure you get it all hunky-dory and centered. But this thing is tapered as it is anyway. So you can kind of hear it starting to get in there. Once it starts to bite, there we go. Once it starts to bite, we're going to start doing our about a quarter or half rotation back off to break the chip. And just do it like that. Yeah, you should be able to see that. And even if this is threaded the whole way, which I'm not going to, I don't see it as it being a problem as far as function-wise. That is probably more than I even need to go. I just want to make sure it's in there. Okay. Back this guy out. Yeah. And we just got a little bit of residue on there. And didn't want to focus. That's okay. Got a little bit of cutting motion, cutting action. Get us a little Q-tip. See if we can't clean that out. Yeah. I'm gonna get all them burrs out. You don't want little burrs to get stuck in your gun to work their ways into triggers and things, so make sure we get that as clean as we can. Alrighty. Yeah. Alrighty. Now, open up this little guy. And these are from Team Associated. I don't know. They're 4 by 4-40 by 1/8. So if you want to find these cheaper somewhere else, go for it. But they're really pretty inexpensive as they are. And it took them about a week to get here from Amazon. So it wasn't the fast 2-day shipping, but it was still relatively quick. I'm just going to check fit here. Make sure this guy actually will screw in. Oh, yeah. See, and that's just going to make life just a little bit easier, I think. Just a little bit. You know? Okay, now one thing you're going to want to do, and I'm sure there's a scientific method to how many you're going to take off and all this stuff, but what I'm going to do is try not to drop these on the floor. But you got your spring, right? And then you got your little screw, very small. And basically, I'm going to cut off you can't ram this whole spring in here with this screw, okay? Because the screw's protruding into the receiver, whereas before it was the end plate holding the spring in. Okay, now the screw is going into the receiver to hold the spring in. So we need to cut off whatever this is, 1/8 of an inch. I think that's what they are. Yeah, 1/8 of an inch. So we need to cut off 1/8 of an inch from the spring. Now, if I'm wrong about that, we'll find out. But I'm just gonna cut off. Looks like it's only gonna be like 1, 2, 3 or 4 coils. Not too many. You know what? guys are a little bit sharper. Use these. All right. Yep, so there we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 3.5 to 4 coils. Cut these guys off. Here, I'll show you. Should be about the same. Coils are the shiny ones, the screw is the darker one. That should put us in the ballpark of working. Okay, so we're going to put our spring, or not our spring, our takedown pin in there. Take our detent, slide it in. Okay, take our shortened spring, slide that in. Okay, and take our screw on the Allen key they provided. We're going to screw that into place. Make sure we don't cross thread anything. There's not much cross thread. And you just screw it in flush. Don't even go crazy. Just flush. There you go. So now, I'm going to check your function. Make sure it's not too tight. It's pretty stiff. It's pretty stiff. This is okay. There you go. It's got to work it a couple times. So it works, functions just fine. So now when we put on our receiver extension, all right, or our buffer tube, we don't have to worry about that little spring being out there and doing the whole finagle thing. We still got to do the buffer tube spring and detent, but we don't have to worry about this little screw right there. It's just going to be a nice thing. Just be like I said, it's kind of just a luxury upgrade that is completely unnecessary, but still pretty fun. Okay. Put our guy back together here. Make sure everything is all set. And I don't torque these guys down, and I don't put a detent, or not a detent. So there we go. That guy's back on. Put our stock back on. Looks good. Takedown pin works. And there you go. And obviously you couldn't do that to the front one, because if you put a screw up here, then it would be flush, and the detent wouldn't work because it's backwards. It's bass-ackwards. There you go. So slap that back onto our Mod Zero upper, and we forgot to put the buffer in. So if you forget to put the buffer in, then you gotta fix it. Like an idiot. I've done that before in another video. I don't know. There we go. There we go. So that works. And when you're going to take it down, you just push it with your thumb. Boop, pokes out. Grab it with your nail. There you go. Works, functions just fine. So there you go. That's a quick little upgrade you can do to your ARs. Probably do it to the AR-10 as well. I think they use the same screws, I think. And with this little kit came the number 43 up there, the number 43 drill bit. Because obviously this was not designed or made specifically for AR-15s. If it was, then it wouldn't come with a drill bit, probably, because it's already drilled out. So you can use this. I'm thinking I'm going to use this on another project later on. I don't know if I'm going to tape that or not, but it's just nice to have this stuff, okay? Make sure you clean off your cutter or your tap. You don't want to leave that stuff on there, so you don't lose your extra little springs. But there you go. If anybody else has done this project before, let me know how it went. You know, where'd you get your stuff? You know, maybe you got it cheaper than me. Maybe I got it cheaper than you. Maybe you got it 10 years ago and it only cost you like $5. But either way, this is something that you can get. And if you got multiple AR-15s, it's nice. It's a nice little upgrade just to be able to do it and be done with it. And then you could use this for whatever else you want to do. If you ever need to tap anything else, any light tapping, not big light, whatever. You know what I'm saying. I'm going to stop before I start rambling. I'm going to thank y'all so much for watching and for supporting. Thank y'all for your subscriptions and all that stuff. I don't know if anybody shared my videos. I'm sure somebody has somewhere. If you've ever shared my video, you're a trooper. I appreciate that. That's amazing. I don't know if anybody ever really has. But if you have, that's cool. Anyway, y'all be good, you be safe. And we'll see you in the next video.